Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Max 6 Entrepreneurial Center right here in Tempe, Arizona, where we help build businesses and connect you with the right people. And I'm very excited today to welcome back to the studio my friend Alan with SCORE Greater Phoenix Chapter. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm also good. Yeah, we were talking earlier that it's been, I think before the pandemic was the last time we had you on. Or maybe in the middle of it.
And I think it was 2022.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So not too long, a couple years.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back. And you decided to bring George with you. Tell me why George is here with you today.
So we are starting a new program for Phoenix, at least, called the CEO Forums. Okay. This program, though, is going very strongly in California, where they have at least, I think it's 11 or 12 forums already. All right. So it's been so successful that we'd like to take it to Phoenix.
And so, George, what's your role?
My role, actually, it's a new role for me. I've been with SCORE about 11 years as a certified mentor. And I decided I needed to do something different. And so I said, Alan, I says, what do you got that's different? And he says, well, we want to do this thing called CEO Forums.
And I've been dying to it since I joined for it.
You have.
And actually, when I first came to SCORE from the Midwest, I wanted to do that anyway. But at the time, the chapter wasn't ready for it. And now they're ready.
Okay.
And so I spent a lot of time, usually remotely, with our friends out in Orange County. They've been at it for 15 years, and they have a total of 10 unique CEO forums composed of 8 to 12 people. So they're essentially have a forum for 100 different companies in Orange County only. This is just Orange County.
So
I'd like to add something to that
ahead.
too. My background was I had a franchise that did something extremely similar for I guess it was 2007 to almost 2019. And that's one of the reasons why I was excited about possibly doing with SCORE, because I said SCORE is such a great business resource and it's so much more powerful than what the franchise could give me, with less expense. So I said, this is a no-brainer.
Somebody's got to do it for us, right?
Yeah.
So let's back up for our listeners and viewers who, one, are not familiar with you and who you are professionally. I want to make sure we hear more about your background. You just did a little bit of a dip, but I want to hear more. And then before that, though, for our viewers and listeners who don't even know what SCORE is, can either one of you or both of you collectively give us the Reader's Digest version about who and what is SCORE and who benefits?
SCORE was set up as a business resource for the SBA. We're celebrating our 60th year. There's over 10,000 volunteers nationally with 250 chapters. This chapter in Phoenix has a little over 100 volunteers across. We also have chapters in Southern Arizona and Northern Arizona. Don't know the count on them. The primary focus in the past has been mentoring, free mentoring. And for instance, last year we did over 6,000 mentoring sessions. Okay. But in addition to that, we have, when you look at the total picture, what are we about? We're about helping create jobs. Okay. And helping start business. So across Arizona, there was like 770 businesses created with our help. They had to have at least 3 mentoring sessions, and we account for at least 2,700 jobs. Okay. And that was in 2023. So we're very proud of that, so.
Yeah. What can you add to that? Did he hit all the highlights?
Highlights, there's quite a few. The first one is the fact that I got into the CEO forum things because I was on the other side of what Alan just said, meaning when I was in the Midwest, I was running 2 companies. We were in scientific instrumentation, and fractional horsepower motors out in California. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, I actually joined a president's forum, very similar, out in the Midwest, northwest of Chicago, and I was a member for 7 years. And so, I mean, I actually participated in a group of CEOs and presidents that ran the businesses, and I got so much out of it. It's like, I mean, that's when I first came out here. I figured, hey, let's get this started. You don't have this out here.
Yeah, we
You know,
need it.
and we need it, you know, and there you get so much more when you can talk to peers, in my opinion. You
Yeah.
get this peer-to-peer thing. When we do our mentoring, we offer lots of different things, help them, give them ideas, that type of thing, you know. But when you're doing a peer-to-peer, it's, they're in the trenches like you are.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're at the top, I mean, it's lonely. I mean, you could probably attest to that.
Yes. It's part of why I'm here at Mac 6, because I don't want to work in a silo.
Yeah.
I want to be around other people who are
Right.
like-minded, thinking and innovative, that sort of thing.
And I've talked to a number of companies that I still mentor. I'm not taking on any new ones right now, but I've got a number of people who've been with me a number of years. And I mentioned this to them, and they're like, where do I sign up? I mean, they just see, they know there's a value. I mean, it's one thing to talk to a mentor, but it's another thing to talk to 10 other people that's, are sitting in the same seat you are.
And the power also too is that Scores is a great business resource. You can go on our website and get, past webinars or workshops. You can on anything related to small business. You also have the templates for whether it's finance or marketing that you can put, or SWOT. You have all that plus mentoring, plus workshops, so that this is just an added value there.
Is there a fee for the CEO forum? And is there a fee for the mentorship? Like, is it, I know it's an all volunteer organization, but
Right.
me benefiting from your services, what do I need to do?
Well, mentoring, unlimited 1-hour sessions, free of charge. Many of our courses are the same thing. They're
And added also to for the life of your business. It's not like
Just startup.
it's if you're starting up or you're growing your business, or even if you're exiting your business, we are there with free mentoring. Okay. So
it relative to the SCORE program now, this will be a fee-based system.
For
but
the
it
CEO
is
forum.
right. I mean, it's a whole different setup.
Mhm.
I mean, I can get into kind of what is
Please.
a forum. Well, a forum consists of 8 to 12 CEOs, and of those, we're only accepting the top person. Okay, there's no substitutes, and there's lots of reasons for that. One is you're dealing with very confidential information. And if you're a business owner, you don't want your competitor knowing what's going on. So we filter out, okay, when we put a group together, we make sure there's no competitors, as well as customers too. In a sense, you don't want a customer to know your deep financials, right? I mean, no, that's it, So the forum consists of a monthly meeting, the same day, the same time, every month. It's not a religion, but you have to be committed to that. The next thing is when you go to these sessions, they're 5 hours in length. So this is you, me, business owners. It's your time to really work on the business versus the day-to-day fighting fires in the business. And that happens. And even if you're, if you're, million to 10 million, you still have that issue because, I mean, you're the last vote,
I think what's also important is that people are willing to share over time. They're willing to share more and more. And a lot of companies don't have a board of directors, but this can almost act as a board of directors. You don't want, let's say, all salespeople or all CPAs. It's not about networking. It's about problems, issues, and opportunities in discussing it.
Mhm.
And I've seen people that are sitting at meetings, and I've held meetings, and people go like this. They're shaking their heads. Just why, and then they come back the next month. You talked about it last month, and the same thing happened to me. So it gives them a chance to, even though it may not be their issue today, it may be their issue in the future.
Mhm.
Or if it was their issue in the past, they could share what they have done,
Yeah.
And
It's a true commitment to participating and helping the other 9 members or 11, however many's in the group, in their business.
Mm.
I mean, you cannot just sit there and absorb and that's it. You have to participate.
Yeah.
And that's where the change in what type of score person is that to facilitate this.
Talk about that.
Okay, so the forum will have 2 score facilitators. So say if you got a group of 10, you're going to have 2 more people in there, and they're going to be score facilitators. Now, in this case, there's a process we use to make sure everybody participates. And that's what their role is. Yes, they can still suggest as well, but it's mainly from facilitation to make sure the process is rigid and consists. Say I want to grow sales, okay, and if I want to grow sales, they're going to say, well, all right, George, everybody wants to grow sales. Tell us a little bit more. Well, I want to go after a new market. Say I want to go into OEM customers. I was doing a lot of, in my own personal experience, we were selling a lot to Abbott Labs, scientific instrumentation, our parent Cole Parmer Instrument Company. I know they had a big catalog and we had standard products, but then there was this whole market of building in our products, one of which was a peristaltic tubing film. But anyway, they built it. You could build it into many different things. I mean, you go to a hotel and if they're offering a continental breakfast, right? You go to that juice dispenser. Guess what's in there? There's a little peristaltic tubing pump in there. Actually, there's about 4 or 5 of them in there, depending upon how many flavors you have. But what we decided to do is I wanted to go after that OEM market. These were proprietary patented products that we owned in our company, but we wanted to build it into other things, food dispensing, medical, and even we pumped lots of different slurries, which happened to be a big reason why semiconductors need a slurry, and the peristaltic pump is a great application.
So when you were
There's so
doing,
many-
so when you're doing this for your business, were you part of a forum, a CEO forum?
Yes.
And how did you benefit? I mean, I'm
Well-
already thinking of some ideas, but what were some of the rich contributions that you gained from that?
Well, we wanted to grow this market. Okay, this OEM market. And part of the reason, so it's a new channel. We had the classic organization, marketing, engineering, manufacturing, service. And we felt that to really get in and get expertise, we wanted to have a little subgroup within the company that could respond to these customers better, and actually go visit them and really get into what their real needs were.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
And so we had a couple of people that I picked out in the organization, and we pulled people from engineering and marketing and one from our machine shop. And we were going to put those together. And so I asked the forum to listen to this plan. I backed away, let these 2 people who were going to lead this present it. And then we had the marketing and the engineering people that were normally in charge of these people. They interviewed them as well. I wasn't even in the room. Okay. And I says, hey, here's something we came up with. You review it. Okay. And so they presented and, we actually did implement pretty much everything they did.
Wow.
One of the things that you get out of this also is I had in the back of my mind, I really wasn't happy with the marketing person at the time, but I didn't say anything to anybody. I didn't want to bias anybody. And so after the presentation, and they talked to these 4 people, of course, we had the group, we went off. In that group, we met at noon and then went all the way through dinner. Okay. And at dinner, they says, George, you got a problem. And I says, what's that? And he says, this person that's in charge of marketing, man. Mm-mm, you know. And I said, well, thank you very much. I'm on the same wavelength. I wasn't going to, but I got confirmation, which is a big deal.
I know. And there's so many stories, because not only I was also a participant, but I was also a facilitator. And it's so dynamic. But I have so many instances either where you even have to help some people fire people, but also as far as sales, and also some people just getting out of their shell. If you have a CPA sitting there, okay, that's somewhat introverted as some of them are, and you have a sales guy sitting there, and the CPA says, well, I don't want to network. And the sales guy says, well, let me help you. It's all about helping business owners, helping other business owners.
Yeah, collaborating for success is what I see on the
collaborating.
visit.
And, and you have these dynamic differences in personalities that it's so important. And like George was talking about markets, I mean, it's like I was in charge of the spice and seasoning company. And, we wanted to go more into the seasonings for snacks, but we were in the meat industry. And I got pushed back because they said, okay, let's think about that. Because the one guy over there in charge of operations, he says, do you have an R&D person for that? Well, not really. So you got to hire one. Is the salesperson different for seasonings for a snack versus somebody selling to the meat industry? Well, yeah. So we sort of backed off a little bit and tried to plan out what our finances would be to do that. But you have financial people there. You have an operations person there, that's talking about that. And it's dynamic. It's unless you've sat in on it, it's really hard to really envision it for some people.
Yeah.
I think to get back into the, the topics then, I mean, we're talking sales, but I mean, in the end, I got verification on an HR issue. So, I mean, all topics are viable, all of them. I mean, sell, buy, expand, HR, finance, marketing, website, social media, big one today, right? Yeah. So, I mean, they're all there.
And one thing that I asked at one time, are you getting value? What value do you want to get out of this? And a lot of business, most of them said accountability.
Okay, speak to that.
Okay, because no one's holding them accountable. All right.
Because they're holding everybody else accountable.
So, at the end of the meeting, for instance, say, okay, so we talked about this. What action are you going to take? Which did you like? Joe said one thing and Sam said something else. Which action do you think you're going to take, and what can we expect from the next meeting? Sometimes you got to be careful because, I mean, I had one guy that I was also coaching, and he wanted to really increase his business, and I would come in there every Tuesday, and he says to me, and we developed a little plan with the board or with the group. And I'm coming in and says, I hate when you come in Tuesday.
Oh, no.
He says, but if you didn't do this, I would never get anything done.
Exactly.
Right. It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah. Okay.
I love
so,
it.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's not, and what's really unique about SCORE is let's say all the people in the room say, well, I really don't understand this social media stuff. Okay. We have a mentor that he worked for Facebook for a couple of years, or maybe you need a coaching session. You're trying to improve your restaurant. Well, we have a mentor that he had bought and sold about 10 restaurants. So you can still utilize this the resources within SCORE that is so different than any, because you have a lot of people offering masterminds, this, that, and the other, but it doesn't have quite the dynamic that SCORE does.
Mhm.
Well, in straight mentoring, most all the clients will say, thank that you're coming in because you're holding me accountable. In this case with the forums, okay, this is a monthly meeting, same time, same station, if you will, every month, the second Wednesday. There's a rationale on that too, but that's too much in the mud there. Talk about that. But getting back to accountability, yeah, you go back and say, this is what the facilitator does. Then they come up and says, okay, Alan, what's going on? I said, George, is that marketing guy still there? Have you reorganized? Have you put this OEM group together? Yeah, this is where I'm at. Or, I learned more and I'm going to do a slight variation, and then you can explain that. But it's a constant thing of, yes, accountability, yes, learning. You're learning more about stuff. You're learning, you're getting different ideas and views that you would, here I'm a manufacturer and another CEO member is running a chocolate factory. Oh geez, where's the commonality? Well, there's
You'll
a lot.
find it.
You'll find it, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. You'll get some great ideas that you would have never even thought about.
Mhm.
On all types of different
And
subjects.
it's not just, I mean, the primary focus is learning from one another, business owners helping other business
Mhm.
owners. At the same time, I used to bring in executive summaries, or I said beforehand, because you all talked about social media, you all talked about, Gen Y, that they don't work and this and that, and maybe I would bring in special speakers, or maybe I'd bring in a short executive summary to talk about, or maybe I'd show a video. Like I was just watching one that I used to send from Dan Pink on Drive, how people are really motivated, because I can't motivate my sales force. Well, you really don't understand motivation.
And when it's in a room with like-minded thinkers
Oh yeah.
or thinkers who think differently from us, we can help people better understand growth mindset and how to lead or how to fire in the example that you shared. So what a rich opportunity for these folks. These are in-person meetings? Are there any online groups? Or are they all in person?
No, these are all in person. It was one of the things that Orange County really hammered home. They said when COVID hit, he says, it just didn't work with virtual. I mean, the confidentiality somewhat evaporates a little bit. It's not person to person. I mean, you miss out a lot on the facial responses that we all have and give. This whole thing, though, I walked in to your lobby there, and you have this thing called conscious capitalism. I mean, SCORE fits directly into that, as well as the CEO forum thing.
All
You
stakeholders.
mentioned the words collaborative. I mean, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
It's shared experiences, shared knowledge, better results. That's what it is.
Yeah. What I'd love to ask, and you've alluded to this a little bit, I want to know who this is for. And I already heard a couple things. I heard this is for the highest level. This is for the C-suite. This is not for a middle manager or the HR director, whatever. No offense to those folks who hold those positions, but these are for these decision makers, right?
Yeah.
The owner of the business or the CEO or president.
Right.
I also heard that it's for somebody who's willing to participate and share their ideas and be willing to be vulnerable. You don't have to be great at that, is what I'm hearing, because you're going to be encouraged by the facilitator and the other team members of this forum. Who else is this for? What else are you, when folks are saying, yes, I think I want to be a part of this, what's the other criteria?
We have criteria for that.
Good.
And first is, well, of course, you got to be the top person. Okay. Second is we've set a arbitrary figure of 2 years. You have to be in business minimum. These are minimums now.
In business or in that role for 2 years? In
business. The company has to be in business for at least 2 years. More or less, they've survived, the brutalness of starting a business. Okay. Secondly is we're looking for companies that are at least $1 million in sales annually. If it's below that, I mean, they're still almost in a startup phase, and this is not for startups. Okay, this is $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is you have to sign this, confidentiality agreement. If you don't sign it, you're not going to participate, because we're sharing real innards of companies here, and it's that kind of a thing. And then the number of employees. I mean, with today's software companies, you can have $1 million in sales, you can only have one person, and we think you need to have at least 5, of which 3 should not be family members.
Okay.
We kind of say that, all right, you got to have 3 non-family members, as a minimum. Again, and that's the majority of it, per se. And when you make a commitment, of course, there'll be times. I mean, we're expecting you at all 12 meetings. Okay, once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And if there'll be times you can't make it, but no, don't send an alternative.
Can I pop in there? Let's say it's June and I've just heard about this. Can I join a group in June, or do I really need, is it a calendar year? How does that work?
Well, we start out with a vetting process, which is, we call it a briefing request. You fill it out and, you answer all the questions, et cetera. There's about 20 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then we take a look at, where you're located, the experiences, et cetera. And we try to put together a group that will be as close as possible geographically. We're trying to form our first group right now. And as then we'll do the next thing will be, okay, it looks like Alan qualified, he's got the right sales and, pretty much everything, sales, people, commitment. And then what we got to do is we make a presentation to these people who think they want to join. And we go, it's a free lunch. We'll bring them in an hour. We'll go through a presentation, ask any questions, and we'll go through this whole routine and then ask questions.
Also coming back to your original question, I'm sure we can add people at any time to existing groups as long as the group hasn't filled up.
Okay.
Okay. Especially, I mean, one of the questions I used to like to ask is, what are you going to add to the group? Okay, because it's a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just be sitting there soaking everything in and not add back. What do you think you can add to the group?
Yeah. And George, I hadn't realized that. I mean, this is brand spanking new for Phoenix specifically. So
Yes.
What a great time for us to be celebrating this conversation here on Phoenix Business Radio X, so we can help you spread the word.
Oh, thank you.
Very good. Tell me how are you spreading the word beyond today's conversation? Where else are you letting people know that this is taking place?
Well, we've got a database within our own organization of about 14,000, and we did a blast on that, an email blast. Some of our newsletters, we're putting that flyer out that go out to our current client base. We've partnered, Alan has partnered with lots of different organizations, Arizona Commerce Authority, Better Business Bureau, Hispanic Chambers, Black Chamber of Commerce's, and now we're in a process of targeting LinkedIn through our parent organization, meaning SCORE National, to do a drill down for our area with the criteria that we're talking about here.
Great.
So, Karen, I think the hardest thing sometimes is to target who you want. In other words, like LinkedIn, we decide to go to the LinkedIn ads as opposed to just, we have put it on LinkedIn, but when you go to LinkedIn ads, you can target
specifically. Yep. Who those leaders are.
Yep.
Yep. So.
we skipped over both of your backgrounds, and I think that's important for our viewers and listeners to hear. You've given us a few little stories about how, these kinds of experiences have been helpful and beneficial for you in your own leadership roles. Let's back up. If each of you would share just a little bit about your professional experience, and then why you felt that you needed to and wanted to be a volunteer in SCORE. So I don't care who goes first. But
Okay, so I'll go first. So my background is I was with Kraft Foods for 10 years in retail, and I got hired by a German company to start up their enzyme operation. The enzymes are used in food processing mainly. So that was 1981. In 9 years, we grew it to $40 million, and I was in charge of 4 different businesses. This particular company invented plexiglass. So I was in charge of some other things there. I got hired by another German company to run as a president of their flavor division. It was more of a turnaround. They were losing money. I sold it to ConAgra, which is another large food company. That was quite an experience if you've ever sold a company under duress. I went on to be a VP of spices and seasonings for ConAgra company, doing about 50 or 60 million. Okay. Then I went on to do another turnaround called Quality Botanical Ingredients. So I was in a that was more supplements rather than food for the first time. And I eventually said, all my boys went to Arizona State. And I said, why am I in New Jersey with 2 feet of snow and they're sitting here in 70-degree weather? Right. So I quit my job and said, let's start this this franchise of business coaching and peer-to-peer advisory board, which I had been a part of in New Jersey. Okay. And again, like George, I thought it was a fantastic idea. And I did that for about 12 years, but it was the pandemic sort of squashed it. And also, too, I kept on asking, are you getting value? Because after a while, people are your friends. Okay. And I said, you're not taking actions,
Interesting.
You're just, I want to help your business, but business owners are alone. Sometimes they just like to talk to me, which I'm honored, but at the same time.
Right. Clearly you're savvy when it comes to business, all these different experiences you've had over the course of your career. Have you always been a servant leader, or when this opportunity came up, was that the first opportunity that you've given back?
Well, I've always been a leader or president and whatnot. I think running this has been I'm quite pleased with our accomplishments, because it's really about, with this, it's getting folks like George and some other people engaged and giving back to the community. And I hate to say giving back to the community. When I came in, we really didn't have any contact to the Hispanic community. And now we're doing a workshop a month at the Hispanic community. Okay. Hispanic Chamber, sorry. And there's several others, and people are calling us up now to help them with mentoring and doing some other.
Well, you're doing
activities.
something right then. Yeah. And how long has the Phoenix chapter been around? I know you mentioned it.
Well, SCORE has been around since 60 years.
Right.
I think our chapter number is 105. So it must have been around 50 years ago.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah.
How about your background, George?
Well, I'm an electrical engineer.
Okay.
And my first job was working for a well-known company by the name of General Electric. And I started work there before Jack took over, Jack Welch, that is. And then I grew about, leaps and bounds working in a service repair, service installation of X-ray equipment, medical. So I was in medical equipment from dental to X-ray to computed tomography to nuclear medicine to ultrasound, and I mean, it was, and patient monitoring, critical care, ICU, CCU, all that stuff, and that was great. And then I left GE. I mean, I got a great education. They had a good management training program, and then I went to a place called Marquette Electronics. An
Did you say Marquette?
Marquette Electronics, just like the university,
Mhm.
run by two gentlemen, Mike Cudahy and Warren Cousins. They're both gone now. God bless them. It was an entrepreneurial company. So I went from big C, GE, to little Marquette, 20 million, 25 million, and that was it. Okay. I really learned that money was a big deal then. It was real. And it was I mean, I came in engineering, and then I went to R&D for a while, and then I ended up in manufacturing engineering. We're an FDA regulated company, good old food and drug. And I ended up running all the manufacturing. So I had about 500 people, and we had to comply. We had inspections. I mean, it was a real great learning experience. Entrepreneurial. We had an ESOP program. You saw the benefits of that.
What is the program?
Employee stock ownership
Oh,
plans,
sure.
ESOPs, ESOP. And they were, before Enron, gave them a dirty name. And it's still a good program. I believe it 100%.
Depends on who's running it, right?
Exactly. Yep. But then from there, I ended up going to the Scientific Instrumentation Company. I ended up to be a president of their 2 divisions and ran that. And that's where I ran into the President's Forum, as I mentioned earlier. And again, I got sold on that so fast. It was unbelievable. It was really a good thing.
So you both, again, have benefited from these circles, these forums, these opportunities to benefit from people who may not be in the same vertical or the same position, or they even have the same years of experience. But you're open to learning.
There's one more step in my career.
Yeah.
Well, actually, 2 more, a half step and a step. So after I left the Cole-Parmer Instrument Company, I bought my own franchise.
Oh.
Okay. And when I bought the old franchise, what was really nice is I got connected to real small businesses, and everybody was a customer in the franchise I bought. And so we targeted again, and we were selling promotional items, things that we added value to. We printed golf balls, we embroidered, we screen printed, we printed pens. I mean, everything you could to help. But this was where I really found I really loved helping other businesses because, they didn't have a marketing department. A lot of them don't. They're so small. And they would say, well, what do you want to do? How much do you want to spend? What's your budget? Oh, I'm going to be at a chamber event, and be handing out pens. Well, don't hand out this expensive one. Let's go with Bic over here. It's real inexpensive. And so you help to learn about their whole, business. And then, okay, how can I help them go forward?
What's really interesting about the forums is, okay, you learn a lot about business being one another, but the facilitator also is learning a tremendous amount. And also too, as far as SCORE, I think you asked, why am I at SCORE? On one side, it's very purposeful. There's nothing better than when a mentee or somebody that you're working with said, Alan, that was a big help. Okay. 2, you are constantly learning because of all the different type of mentees or running a board or something like that. And 3, you're working with people like George and other people that are more of like mind. I've tried to build more of a community for the SCORE mentors so they can also help. A dynamic thing about SCORE too is they offer co-mentoring. So, if I have one mentee that they wanted to start equine therapy, what do I know? I'm from Baltimore. I didn't have equine. But I could call on 10,000 volunteers, and who knows anything about equine therapy, and bring them in on a session. So it's such a dynamic organization that it's hard to explain.
Well, you both are doing a great job of that. What we've only got a little bit of time left in our conversation today. Is there any aspect of the CEO Forum that we haven't discussed that you want to make sure our listeners and viewers are aware of?
Well, there's one that I guess I want to read from.
Please.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's these are testimonials from people who have been in CEO forums,
Perfect.
specifically out of Orange County in this particular case. And they'll sit there, respond, what are the primary benefits? It was the question. They do a survey too. And, we will get to that at once it's part of our development. But peer engagement, accountability, and shared experiences was the top one. The next one was knowing I'm not alone in my struggles, sharing challenges and success, and getting insight from others who are in the trenches. That was a big one. Setting time aside to work on my business, as I mentioned earlier. There's nothing more rewarding to me is when you recommend a book and they actually, the clients actually go get the book and then they read it and says, oh my God, there's a lot of good info in here. Okay. Having a team of expert business people as my sounding board and listening to other business owners' challenge and concerns. I mean, I'm not the only one that's got to deal with the high cost of food today, and in my restaurant business, it's like, oh, well, what are you doing about it? Right. The forum gives me the opportunity to openly discuss any issue I might have with my company and receive objective advice. When you're in these forums, John over here is telling me, hey, this is the way I see it.
I think just to add one thing to what happened lots, some people had personal issues.
Of course.
And the personal issues affect your business
Of
issues.
course. And we can't go to maybe our team or our employees.
No, we don't have an agenda.
And when we go home and we have a partner at home or our circle of friends, they don't always know what we're going through. Right. So what a great example.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's business therapy.
Yes.
Well, actually, I had years ago, Channel 5 did something on my group, and somebody called it group therapy for business owners.
I would love to read this additional testimonial, and I don't know how to pronounce her name, but it's a beauty company that's on your flyer. Is it Manikadar? Do you know how to? Yeah. So she says, I've had the privilege of being a part of the SCORE CEO Forum for the last decade. So she committed 10 years to this. My experience with the CEO Forum has been invaluable and has ultimately led my company growing many years over 100% and navigating the many challenges that CEOs face, the relationships built, the friendships cultivated, the advice, strategy, and success that's been built have been priceless in my entrepreneurial journey, right? What a great way to kind of sum everything up.
Yep.
How do folks learn more? And then how do you said there's a kind of a vetting process. Tell us a little bit about that for our listeners who are saying, okay, yes, I want to learn more and I want to be part of this initial group.
Okay. The first thing you do is go to greaterphoenix.score.org. Okay. That's our local website, if you will. On the top bar, you'll see a thing that says CE Forums. Press the button. A drop down. 2 drop downs. One says learn more. The other one says request a briefing. Request a briefing is the one where you fill out the questions. Learn more dives right into that young lady's business as one that says her testimony. We have live video of people that are currently in forums, and they volunteered to do the video, and they're in there as well. And then there's a whole description on everything we've talked about today, meaning the program, how's it run, how we go through a vetting process, the fact that you're only paying monthly, a small fee, and there's a monthly meeting. You've got to commit, etc. That's all in there to review.
The small fee is to pay for breakfast and lunch and a little bit of donation to SCORE.
Yeah.
Because we do
love
run our
Oh, and we
SCORE chapter
bring
with
in a
donation.
speaker, and we have to,
Yeah,
say
yeah.
we don't have one that's in our own group, but
Love it.
that's a minimum.
Love it. Are both of you on LinkedIn? I know.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if somebody's listening or viewing this on LinkedIn, and your story and the way in which you've described this has kind of resonated with them, is it okay if they reach out on LinkedIn or even?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Absolutely.
And you're listed volunteers. You're listed on the SCORE website as well.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Very good. All right. What is your greatest hope for a business owner who wants to be part of this CEO forum? What would you like to? What can you envision them saying to you as a facilitator or participant in 6 months from now? What would be the coolest thing that they would say to you? I mean, like I just read her testimony. I'm like, that would be phenomenal. But what is there anything else?
For me, it's personal and business growth.
Both.
Okay. Because, a lot of entrepreneurs are spending 70 hours a week. Maybe we help them balance it a little bit.
Good.
Maybe we help them by looking at their business from 30,000 feet. They say, okay, this is important. This is not important. Maybe we help them say, okay, this is what I want to be when I grow up in 10 years.
Oh, I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
Not what do I do tomorrow? I got all these things to do. Just what do you want to be what do you want to be personally? And what do you want your business to be?
Love it. George, how about you?
Well, we have another form in there that we would like to have people fill out, and it's an assessment form. It's where the CEO takes this form and they fill it out and they make their own assessment, and there's points assigned to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is to be your own your own judge, go through it, your own perspective, and then let's sit down with us. And then a lot of times you'll hear, I never really thought of any of this stuff. All right, so let's start to develop a plan to put it together. The other thing is you get so much enjoyment seeing them come back and tell you, I'm really glad you pushed me in this direction, or the group pushed them in that
Even
direction.
though, to Ellen's point, I was frustrated that you were doing it. I'm so glad you pushed me, right? To go back to his
Exactly.
earlier comment.
Yeah, and
But it's like a football, wrestling, whatever coach.
oh yeah,
We're not always happy when we walk away from the mat or practice,
I
but
was
boy,
wrestling.
but yeah, my son's a high school
I
wrestler.
mean, the team concept
Yeah.
really plays in these
Yes, it does.
forums.
And you need someone, whether it's a facilitator or a companion in the group, to be able to look at you and say, I believe in you. I know you can do this. And, it's time to suck up and actually do it. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, that's an important lesson in SCORE too.
Sure.
We are not here to say that's a stupid idea.
Yeah.
We're here to help you achieve your dream, or at least ask you enough questions to make your own, let's say,
You make a better informed decision.
better
Yep.
informed decision rather than just jumping into something.
Well, and a testimony to what you said earlier, Alan, that these folks become your friends, right? And
Absolutely.
if you're just patting them on the back and not giving valuable advice and feedback, or you're avoiding, conflict and just, cookie cutter everything.
Well,
you're not gonna.
it's sometimes hard to create.
Yeah.
In New Jersey, I had no problems. Everybody was at one another. Here, everybody was trying to be too polite in
Interesting.
Arizona sometimes.
We're a polite
And you're
state.
they're saying, sorry, I don't say you're sorry. You're here
to
to
learn.
help them and give them a opinion that is unfettered.
Yep, constructive
But
feedback.
constructive.
Yep.
Say it in a constructive manner. You don't have to stay with, I'm sorry, I hate to criticize you.
Yeah.
You're there to critique their decision or make sure they're making an in-depth decision,
Great.
So-
And these forums, you develop such a bond with your fellow CEOs. I mean, I called up one the other day. I hadn't talked to him in maybe 5 years. And I got a request I have some plastic molding experience, not a lot, but some. And so I got this request. And so I called up one of my old CEO forum buddies. And, he picked up the call immediately. You develop such a bond going through all this experience. I mean, it's friendship, but it's business friendship.
Yeah.
But you can also celebrate too with this group. You don't have to just say business, business, business. If somebody does something great, they sold, they expanded, you can celebrate the business.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
good. Well, I want to thank you both for spending a little bit of your afternoon with us here
So
today
are you
on
gonna
Phoenix
join,
Business
Karen?
RadioX. I don't fit your criteria, to be quite honest with you. Would love to, but I'm not there yet. I do have some ideas on how we can continue to have this conversation. Thank you for the invitation. For our listeners and viewers, you've been listening to Phoenix Business Radio X, broadcasting live from the Mac 6 Entrepreneur Center. Some media leans left, some lean right, and we lean Score Greater Phoenix chapter, specifically today, the CEO Forums. Until next time, I'm Karen Nowicki. Thanks for listening.